Okay, so next. Yes, in the last video I had done all that figuring to get that one truss up there. There were like 8 more trusses that I had to cut, each one specific and interesting and fiddly. Yeah, and as I worked I had to move things out of the way. It wasn't the most glorious type of work, but at least it was work and it was progress, and these things had to be done. It certainly was a little bit overwhelming, but I was very excited to see it finished. Of course, as I got to this third one here, there was something that was in my way. Progress was going to have to stop so that this could go. I kind of knew eventually that track was going to have to come down. A couple of bolts holding this on. They gotta come out. Ah, yes. I see you. Pretty high up there. To help get those bolts out, I didn't have to do it by hand. I had a specific tool just for that. Yes. Remember this guy? It's gonna make life easy. Famous last words. Sure, it'll be easy. Just zip it out. No big deal. Bolts were rusty. Everywhere I looked, there was work that had to be done, and everything was filthy dirty from the trees. Of course they just spin, right? Look what else I found. You reckon that's gonna leak? Wow. Live in the woods, they said. It'd be fun, they said. Don't get me wrong, I'd have it no other way. Boy, did you come down? Did you? Oh, you might have. Sheesh. This thing's been there for like 20 years, didn't want to come down. Doesn't matter. Dead or alive, you're coming with me. Alright, now I'm going to cut that end. And hopefully this whole thing doesn't come crashing down. I don't know. It's one of those rare instances where it'd be nice to have somebody aside from just myself working on this, but yeah, I'll manage. Good amount of weight. And I suppose, just like Dory said, if you just keep swimming, eventually you'll get there. Yep, all the trusses are now done. To support the trusses, that are going to support the panels, I have had several different ideas. The first one was to have a 45-degree gusset right there going from the wall to that, screwing through a 2x4 into the wall. I'm not sure that's going to be very strong. It'd be stronger if it came all the way down to the floor. Well, then I would have to take this railing off. It's going to take an awful lot of 2x4s. I did think I could rip this in half because I don't need a full 2x4 to support that. However, again, is that going to be in the way? How am I going to integrate the wall cabinets that are going to be up there? Then I thought, well, maybe just a 2x4 going across, because the 2x are slightly lower than that metal track. And then I was like, again, how am I going to integrate that with the wall cabinets? Do the wall cabinets need a 2x4 at the very top of the wall? I didn't think they did. So many different options. You see I have one of the ribs that's unsupported too. That's going to have these lightweight panels above them, and it will be inside of a big wall cabinet that goes on the back side here. So I decided I don't need a truss there. So little by little I'm eliminating the amount of wood that I need, which, like Elon says, the best part is no part, right? Kind of agree with that. That goes for the trusses as well, right back to the beginning. The 45-degree gussets that are going to support them, I don't want to build that and only to later have to tear it down. So I came up with the idea that I'm going to build the wall cabinets first. It's the minimal amount of material, piece going across here, and then something up to those, maybe a gusset eventually inside of it or something. But that the wall cabinet will support the trusses and tie everything together. So, okay, where are the cabinets going to be? How low are they going to be? Well, that depends on the height of the workbench. So we went from thinking about the trusses and the gussets to the wall cabinets, and now I'm down to the workbench, because there's going to be a relationship between the wall cabinets and the workbench. That being, I always do this, I hop up onto the workbench as if it were a seat. When I do that, I don't want to hit my head on the wall cabinet. So to determine the height of the wall cabinet, I need to know where the workbench is going to be eventually. This table is a surrogate workbench for now, but it's too low. It's just too easy. I have to like squat down on it. And if I want to work on something, it just feels a little too low. So the height of this is not enough. Now here, this is taller. Well, it's a little too high for me to jump up on this. Oh, yeah, it's too much of a leap. And if I leap up onto that and I bang my head on something that's above it, that's not going to be cool. It's also slightly too high for working on things, because if I put a kayak on top of this, now I have to like get on my tippy toes to see the top of what's inside of it or whatever. So as far as a workbench, this is too high and that's too low. So to figure out how I'm going to support these trusses, I got to figure out the height of the workbench. That's 27 and a half, and that's 35. Somewhere in between would be 30, 31, maybe 32 inches. So the idea is to find something that's that height and see if it's comfortable to sit on. Got these boxes here. 23, yeah. Way too low. It's a comfortable seat, but again, I want to kind of have to pop up on top of it, so that's not going to work. The picnic table over here might be a good analogous workbench. 31 and a half, 32. Oh yeah, I can actually keep a foot on the ground while I'm sitting on this. I can't really keep both feet on the ground, but yeah, this is a perfect height. So this is what I want my workbench height to be. It's kind of right there at my hip. That's perfect. Okay, so now the question is the wall cabinet. Like if I'm sitting on the workbench, I don't want to hit my head. So I'm seeing about 65 inches. That's where my finger was. So let's see if 65 inches works for the bottom of the wall cabinets. This was 67, which that was a good height. I kind of like that. So that leaves me 24 inches. 24 inches. Is that good? Is it not? I don't know. I think that one of the things I would be putting in the upper cabinets are things like chairs for kayaks. So inside here, I've got a couple of seats. If these can fit inside the wall cabinets with the dimensions that I'm thinking about making them, then I'll be good. Well, the final determination was that I needed 21 inches between the bottom of the truss and where the shelf is going to be. If I have 21 inches there, I'll be able to slide a kayak seat into the wall cabinet, and it's going to come out to the first truss. That's enough depth. So if I have enough height, enough depth, I'm good to go to store my seats up there. So on the wall, from the truss, I measured down 21 inches, added 3/4 for plywood, and then 1.5 inches for a frame, which brought the bottom here. That's 68.5. According to my measurements outside, 65 would have sufficed. So 68.5 would mean that when I sit on the workbench and I lean back, I'm not going to hit my head on the wall cabinet. Whew. I hope that makes sense. And I hope it's not boring. It's real life. It's what you got to do to determine the layout of your shop and where everything's going to go, if it's going to be ergonomic. Is there room underneath for a chair? Can you sit at the workbench and use it for like a laptop work or something? There's so many things to determine the size of your shop. Is it going to fit? Yada, yada, yada. So now that we've done that homework, the next thing that we're going to be doing is building wall cabinets. I figure they're going to go all the way across, and the workbench, I think I want it to stick out 3 feet. It's going to be pretty deep, but I got the room, so why not make a big table, right? So 3 feet out, that'll be 1 sheet of plywood, 3 feet by 8 feet. And then out from there, if I take 1 sheet of plywood and I cut it in half, then I can have a 2-foot section there and there. So it'll have a U-shaped workbench, and I'll have wall cabinets to match. I measured out 11 feet and it comes out to like here. So I'll bring the whole thing back to there so that the wall cabinet can support this truss. So then I'll have to figure out this one and this one, how to support them. Maybe for those I'll do the 45-degree gussets. So with the plan, first step is going to be to build the wall cabinets, at least the frame of it, so that the trusses will be supported. And chances are, before I ever get to a workbench or anything like that, there's some other things that are going to take precedence, like putting the solar panels up top, wiring the solar panels, adding shop lights and wiring those, and getting that done so that I can then insulate the ceiling in between the trusses, because it's springtime now and it's starting to get warm. Certain days you go up and you touch the roof and it's like hot. So I want that insulated. I want that done before I want a workbench. So again, all of this work really has to stop so that we can come up with a plan. And now we have a plan, and in the next video we're going to start to implement them. I hope you guys enjoy this stuff, man. I am thoroughly tickled by it. I love sharing it with you guys. The responses have been great, so I appreciate you guys a lot. Stay tuned. There'll be more fun soon to come. And just a message from future Marty, who happens to know that the workbench and the shelves and the cabinets, all that stuff eventually does get done, and gets done not quite like I envisioned it, but maybe even better. But these things would never have gotten done without all this planning, so I feel like I would be remiss to leave it out. I assure you though, it all does pay off eventually, and I hope you'll tolerate all this thinking and doing that is necessary in order to get there. So far you've stuck it out, and I appreciate you. Catch you later.